Let's talk about clipping. Let's talk about saturating. Let's talk about distortion and compression. It seems people forgot. Let's talk about getting loud as fuck. I'm going to explain to you guys all the tools you have in order to get your track to sound loud as fuck. Because it seems that us humans are falling into the same trap we always fall into. And we always go through the path of least resistance. And while I think clipping is the key to getting loud, you're leaving a lot, I repeat, a lot of flavor, excitement, feeling of groove on the table, if that's the only thing you're doing in order to get loud. Clipping and clippers, the hydroxy cut for the production world. Now, when it comes to loudness, it seems to be the tool most people are using, and I feel it's because it's the easiest. And the whole point of a clipper is going to be to shave off transients. You're usually going to use them best when it's related to drums and to leads. And you'll see why. Here I have an open hat, and if I look at the Ableton meter, you're going to be able to see 2 points of information. Your peak, which is that dull gray looking peak. Look at that thing, man. Peakophobia is real. And then at the bottom, you're going to have your RMS, which is your average loudness. Now, the first thing I want to state here is that most people say the RMS is a better meter and a better gauge on how loud the sound will sound to human ears. Because if something has a very high peak, it's just telling us that it has a very high dynamic range or a very loud transient, and the body of the drum is very maybe not as thick as it should be. What we can do with a clipper is literally just pull down and shave off the peak, shave off that transient a little bit, giving you something that has a lower crest factor. And crest factor is just the difference between the peak and the RMS, and the lower the crest factor, the more that we're going to be able to get this open hat loud. Now, the pro of this too is the fact that if we listen to that open hat with the clipper and without, you're going to notice that, oh, I just saved 60 dB of headroom. It sounds exactly the same. Now your open hat doesn't need to be placed so loud in the mix. It can be quieter. And over time, as you do this to multiple drums and multiple leads, they don't add up like a kamikaze bomb and spike your limiter. In fact, your limiter is going to have more of an easier time pushing when you're mastering your track. Clippers also work really well on leads, especially those leads that tend to be fast, acid type sound. Be saturation and distortion. Now, saturation is all about adding density and perceived loudness to a sound. And that is where saturation outdoes clipping. And in fact, when you use saturation at high amounts, you can also lower down the peak value while increasing flavor and increasing perceived loudness, increasing thickness. I mean, who doesn't want that? You can saturate leads, you can saturate a bass, saturate kicks. You can saturate steaks, pork belly. The way I like to think about it, clippers will shave off the peaks while saturation will try and make the bottom part come up to the peak so that you have less of a crest factor and you can bring it down. Distortion is going to be the angry version, the angry brother of saturation. You're going to use this to really just reshape the sound, make it sound dirty, make it sound aggressive. Now, what if you have a sound that sounds very delicious, but it's all over the place because maybe it's one of those sounds that goes wow, 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 wow. You can't clip a sound that efficiently when it's moving a lot. It's like trying to clip someone's balls so they can have babies while they're moving and fighting. This is where a compressor comes into play. This is where the bodyguards come in and hold him down so that it's a lot easier for you to clip or for you to saturate or for you to limit it. Compression is literally all about prep work. For instance, let's say I want to limit my vocal or I want to clip my vocal for some reason. If I am constantly going, hey guys, and then getting loud all of a sudden, hey guys, and getting loud all of a sudden, it's going to be really hard to find the sweet spot for a clipper, and you're really going to make that limiter work. And this is where compressors are going to excel at helping you get loud, because what compression is going to do is literally lower down the dynamic range, aka pretty much make it so that my quiet whispers sound as loud as me talking normally. I'm very quiet. I'm very loud. I'm very quiet. I'm very loud. I'm very quiet. The Ibita final boss, or the limiter. Think of the limiter as a compressor, a very fast compressor with an infinite to 1 ratio. Nothing is gonna get above it. It's a ceiling. Nothing goes above it. As hard as it tries, as it lost. But the place where you're gonna see it the most is gonna be obviously on the master bus. It's meant to catch the last few dB of peaks that clipping and saturation couldn't really tame. It also allows you to push the track into the -5 to -4 LUFS area without clipping the core stereo, without clipping the club system, without clipping the JBL Bluetooth speaker, which is the one I recommend, guys. Link in the description. The way you can think about it is like this. You could be hitting -7 LUFS already, but you always run the risk of your track clipping in Spotify, clipping on Apple, clipping on a car stereo, clipping on a Bluetooth JBL speaker. But with it on, you can push it confidently, knowing that even if it sounds like crap, it's not going to clip on Spotify, it's not going to clip in that car stereo, or it's not going to clip in that JBL speaker that I recommend. All right, guys, so you've watched the video, you understand all the tools you have in order to get loud and to control dynamics, to increase perceived loudness. So now it's time to get loud. We're going to click this advanced. In our style, we can find different algorithms, and the ones I will recommend for you to get loud, like -4.8 LUFS, it will be aggressive or modern. Aggressive, if you're willing to take on some distortion, and in return, you get extra punch. Modern is probably going to be the better bet if you're making tech house, some bass house, where you want to sound like you know what you're doing. You want to sound clean. You want to sound big, and you don't want to distort as easily. However, for this, we're doing techno, so we'll go with aggressive for now and see if we have to switch it to modern. From here, we have our look ahead. You're giving the limiter a chance to look into the future and to see what's coming at it so that it can react to it. This means that the limiter will react to incoming peaks, incoming things that will attenuate it, and it will be able to smoothen it out. I want loud, so we go to the left with a look ahead of 1.00 milliseconds. From there, our attack and release. These are the settings that Pro L2 is going to use in order to dictate how it will react to the transients, how it ducks the volume, and how it returns the volume. So for the attack, in order to get loud, we really need to bring it up, because if we have it low, it's going to react fast, and you're going to find this thing is going to attenuate a lot. Now, what if I bring it fast? Shouldn't the limiter be stopping clipping from occurring? So if I allow some of those transients to pop through, wouldn't it just clip? Well, at high values, the limiter, what it's going to do, the Pro L2, is it's going to soft clip. So it's going to have some clipping effect as I bring it up. So the high attack allows us to get louder. We're going to get distortion in the form of soft clipping, which isn't too bad. And as you're going to see, sometimes can be even negligible. But if you're looking to get loud, you got to really bring this attack up. Release, set it to low. And when the limiter reacts and attenuates, it will pump. It will literally go up really fast. If you set this release really high, what you're going to find is that this will hold on for dear life. So if you have punchy stuff, you have groovy stuff, you have bass, you're going to find that it might kill the momentum and the energy there. So usually with the release, I'll say set it somewhere around 200 milliseconds, get a little bit of both worlds. To the right of that, we have channel linking. And for channel linking, the way I want you to see this link transient here, this percentage that you see, is going to be when you have a huge amount of panning on the left or right side. Let's say you're making a tech house track and you put a snare panned all the way to the left. And let's say for some reason that snare is going to attenuate the limiter because it's set too loud, or maybe it's just meant to attenuate. Well, if I have this channel link set to 100% and this snare only hits on the left side, what you're going to find is that as the left side ducks, the right side will also duck with it, even though the right side didn't cause the attenuation to occur, the right side of the channel. So at low volumes, it unlinks them. So the left side will get attenuated and the right side won't. But you don't want to go to 100% because we are trying to get loud. And also in dance music, I feel many people aren't panning hard left and right too often. So I'm going to leave this at 30%. From there, our release, we're going to set it to 100%. This is going to be how both the left and right react when the signal comes back. Do you want them to react the same or differently? True peak limiting, I want to turn that off. This is going to prevent intersample peaking. However, if you're looking to get loud, you can get 1 more dB of loudness by just turning this off. 1 more LUF easier by turning this off. But if you're going to turn it off, what I recommend you do is that you set your output on the limiter to minus 0.30. And you're going to see why real quick, why we want to leave this on sometimes. However, I will say this. I see mastering engineers like Lucas Prestoli saying you should have it on, inner sample peaks, this and that. But I've also bought tracks from him, from Beatport, that he's mastered where they clip inside of Ableton, which is what that is trying to prevent. The next thing I want to do is set my oversampling to 4x, and I will always recommend you do this when you're going to be pushing really hard with the limiter and if your CPU allows it, okay? And what this is pretty much going to do is it's going to prevent essentially digital distortion, which they call aliasing. If you hover over this, you're going to see Pro L2 also recommends that you use 2x or 4x whenever possible, but definitely use it when you're limiting very heavy and aggressively. From there, states it's going to reduce aliasing, which is digital distortion, and inner sample peaks introduced by the limiting process at the cost of additional CPU's usage. So it's going to prevent more of those inner sample peaks. So once we have all that set up, we can hit here the loudness to bring up our lofts short term. And now we're going to see the loudness unit, which is the measurement we're going to use to measure loudness. And we're going to try to get to -4.8 with this track. So I'm going to play it and start to put the gain up. And as we run into issues, I'll show you how we can mitigate and try to fix it as we go. So let's push this. So you can already see I'm already attenuating, and that's not a good sign because we're just hitting -8. So my first thing is, what is causing it to attenuate, and can I fix it in the mix? Okay, and before this video, I kind of already know what was causing it, which is this vocal here. And if we look at this vocal,
high energy,
you can see that there's this big spike that occurs.
high energy,
That we need to control, that I didn't do anything for. So in this scenario, you already know your tools. You have a glue compressor, you have a Pro L2, you have clipping 101. So that way, as I boost this up, the volume remains at the same level.
high energy,
Now, again, what that is doing is keeping me at the same volume.
high energy,
And now if you can see, there is no spike
high energy,
like we had before. So I'm going to do that.
high energy, high energy,
You can see that the vocal doesn't cause the attenuation anymore.
high energy, high energy,
And you can see that lead, it was one of the causes for that that attenuation. So now I want to go to the lead. You can see that it definitely has a high peak. So in this scenario, we already know what we can do. Okay, so we're getting rid of that. Again, we're saving about like 3 dB of headroom. We're getting rid of those little peaks. Let's see if we can go more. Notice how as I do that, the sound doesn't sound exactly the same, right? If you're hearing on high fidelity speakers, the sound itself is not as punchy, but it's flattened out. The question is,
high energy, high energy,
and now we're starting to clip a bit too much. So you're going to see. And it's going crazy, right? So again, can I go in and fix it in the mix, right? So I already know these acid sounds are causing some of it. And from here, the question will be, is that too loud? Maybe I mixed badly, right? So if I can lower it down and I still like the way the mix sounds, then even better, because I'm already clipping this. Maybe I'll clip a little more. There we go. Let's see what happens to this here. We are missing one equation here that we have yet to enlist, and that is the help of a clipper on the master before the limiter to shave some of those peaks out, okay? So what this is going to do is it's going to shave off some of those peaks, those little peaks that we see there, and we're really going to flatten this out. The thing is, we don't want to overdo this. Okay, as you can see, we got some more headroom. Ideally, I don't want to go above 2 dB of attenuation, so now we're going to push even further. Okay, we've reached minus 5.2 dB. Here, the question will be, do I like the way that sounds, right? Leveling some of the stuff to get a cleaner mix. It seems some of the leads were a little too loud. And oh my god. Notice how the limiter and just keep pushing to get even higher and higher up. Again, the question to all of this will always be, is it worth it to sound like this? And in all honesty, it's going to be up to the individual. Personally, me, I don't like the way this sounds. And I think, again, the mix could be a lot better because as you saw, as I start to reduce it, as I start to go back and fix stuff, I get louder a lot faster, a lot easier. But the problem with the whole clipping thing, as you can see, is that it's very easy to fuck stuff up. So you really have to be careful. It's going to be a lot of A and Bing and stuff and a lot of experimenting. But at the end of the day, if you do everything right, you will get something that sounds hella loud and not too shabby. Ninja, I leave you with some words of wisdom. Don't let other people's fears dictate your life. Don't let their fear of peakophobia dictate how your music sounds. Because yes, at high amounts, peaks can definitely waste headroom. They can make the limiter attenuate too much. They can make your track quiet and super pokey. But at just the right amount, peaks are beautiful. Peaks make that snare hit feel exciting. It makes it feel like it's hitting you in the chest, like someone on top of you just putting their hands on. You know what I mean? The peaks make your track, your groove defined. It makes you feel like you want to dance. So make sure to embrace the peaks. Control them, but don't kill them. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, make sure to check out Paradox Volume 6. All of the sounds you heard in this video come from that pack. And with that being said, you guys have a beautiful peak day.